Welcome one and all. Using the following video, we are going to discuss the several topics under the course name Programming for Problem Solving in C. Welcome. Today we are going to discuss about control statements under the course Programming for Problem Solving in C. The prerequisite of this current topic is there must be some basic knowledge of problem solving technique is needed. Some basic knowledge of C programming about the syntax, about writing the coding will be needed. The objectives of the following discussion is to discuss about the various iteration statements and jump statements in C. In our previous discussion of the control statements in C, we have discussed about the decision statements which comprises if else, nested if else ladder. In continuation to that, using this video, I want to explain the looping structure and break and continue. Now, we move into the topic. Under the control statements, now we are going to start discuss about the iteration statements. What is meant by iteration statement? It is also called as loops. It allows a set of instructions to be repeatedly executed until a certain condition is reached. Suppose we are having a block of code that need to be executed for several times until we will give a condition. For that condition, it will repeat for 10 times, 20 times until the given condition. The condition may be two types is there. One is entry controlled, another one is exit controlled. So the entry controlled will have for loop, while loop, and exit control will have do while loop. So what is the difference between these two, which is graphically given here? Entry controlled and exit control is there. In entry control for and while is there. In exit control do while is there. What is the difference? In entry control, before start repeating the code, the given condition is verified first, and then if the condition is satisfied, then only the block of the code will be get repeated. In for also, while also. Likewise, in do while what happened? The block of code will be executed first, and then the condition will be checked at the end of the block. If the condition is true, then the code will be repeated. Otherwise, it will come out of the loop. This exit control loop, that is do while loop, will execute only once, at least one time loop it is called. Now, in the iteration statement, we are now going to discuss for loop. What is a for loop? It allows a block of code to be executed repeatedly for a certain specified iteration or specified times. Iteration means, for example, iteration means one time, two time, three time, like that. It is called as iteration. The syntax of for loop is given below. For, inside the bracket, round bracket, initialization is there, semicolon, condition is there, semicolon, increment is there. Inside the curly braces, we have a set of statements which need to be repeatedly executed. In curly braces, close. The flowchart of for loop is given. From this diagram, we can clearly understand the first step is initialization. Any condition need to be first initialized. What is the initialized variable? Initialized value. Next one, condition. The condition need to be checked. That is the second step. And third step, if the condition is true, go to the fourth step. What is fourth step? The body of the loop, which contain the statement to be executed if the condition is true. So after read the close curly braces, the fifth step is go and check the updation. Now do the updation. The variable given in the initialization, that the same variable given in the updation also. Now updation is given. After the sixth step, again go to check the condition. Since now the variable value is updated, so that now it is going to be recheck. Now again we have to check whether it is true, go for the fourth step. If it is false, go for the seventh step, that is outside of the loop. So here the three main things we need to understand is initialization, condition and updation. So first one, initialization is, it is assigned statement that is used for set the loop control variable, and condition is, it is a relation expression that determine when the loop need to be exit. And increment, it defines how the loop control variable changes each and every time. It can be changed for one by one, or two times, or three times like that. And loop can be executed until the condition is true. If the condition is false, loop will be terminated and the execution resumes and the statement follow the for loop. A small example is given for the for loop here. It is just for printing 1 to 100 in the screen. It is a simple example to understand how this for loop is working. So here the initializing variable is x is equal to 1. The value is set to 1, and the testing condition is x is going to check for less than or equal to 100 every time, and then the increment operation is x plus plus, that is x equal to x plus 1. So every time x will be incremented 1. Okay, now come into the for loop. We are having a single statement, so that we didn't use any curly braces, open curly braces, close. We are just using a single print statement. So the x value is going to be printed here. So at the time of first iteration, x equal to 1. Next what happened, x will be incremented and the x will be verified, and then again the loop will be repeated. Since x is equal to 2 now, likewise x will be executed until 100. Here we are having another example for the for loop. The question is, write a C program to find the sum and average of n positive numbers. So here we need to find the sum and average of the given n positive numbers. For example, if the user is given 10 means, we need to find out 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus up to 10, and then we need to find out the average of those positive summation of numbers. Now this is the logic. So now we are going to declare what are the required variables. So the required variables are I for the iteration purpose, num, and then another variable sum we need. Sum is going to be initialized to 0, since we need to start using the summation. At the first step we need to use sum is equal to 0. We ask the user enter a positive integer number. The user is entering some value that is going to be stored in the num. Now I is going to be repeatedly iterated until I is less than or equal to num, that is until the value user is going to give. Now for loop, I is initialized to 1 and I is less than or equal to num, and I plus plus is given. This is the for loop we construct. Now sum is equal to sum plus I, that is given here, sum plus equal to I. This is the another one operation in C, which is equal to sum plus I. So we can shortly write like this, sum plus equal to I. Both are equal. That is given in the common statement here to for your understanding purpose. Now sum equal to sum plus I. I is 1. Actually sum is 0. At the time of declaring, we initially sum is equal to 0. Now sum will become 1. Now after reading the closing parenthesis, now this for loop go for the increment operator I plus plus, and then again checking I is equal to less than or equal to num. Now for example, the user give num is equal to 10. This loop will repeat for 10 times. So automatically, first of all I is 1, second I is 2, third I is 3. Likewise the sum will get incremented 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up to 10. Okay, now the sum variable consists of the summation of the first positive in integer numbers that we satisfy some condition here. Another condition is we need to find the average. How to find the average? Sum divided by the total number. So the number supplied by the user is printed here. Sum divided by number. So automatically the sum and average of first n positive integers is printed. For your reference, the output is given here. The input is enter a positive integer, 5 is given. Sum is equal to 15. That means 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is equal to 15. And 15 divided by 5 is the average, 3 is the average printed here. Next, we move on to the second topic in the iteration statement, which is while loop. So there is some difference between for loop and while loop, which is going to discuss here. In while loop, it allows the code to execute repeatedly based on the given Boolean condition. The while loop can be thought as a repeating if statement. In other words, it is called as while loop can be said as repeating if statement, since in each and every time of the repetition it is going to check the condition. The syntax of the while loop is given below. While, check the condition, and if the condition is true, repeat these statements. Otherwise, it will go out of the while loop. That's all. There is no else for the while loop. Only if the condition is true, it will repeat. Otherwise, it is go out of the following code after the while. The flowchart of the while loop is given here. Using this diagram, it is very clearly and easily understand by step. First step, read the while statement, and then second step, the condition is checked, and third step, if the condition is true, the go to the fourth set of statements. It is the set of statements to execute when the while is true. Okay, now while is true, so that we are executing this fourth set of block of statement, and then in the fifth step we need to give this updation. So what is the meaning of this updation? Any variable you are checking here in the condition, that variable should be updated according to the your while loop. Otherwise, this while loop will become infinite. Okay, now this updation is done. After this, it will read the curly braces, close curly braces, and it is go for the condition again. This is the sixth step. Now again the condition is going to check. Now if the condition is true, again we are going to repeat the same step. Otherwise, it will go out of the while loop and it will follow the statements outside the looping structure. So here, what is the main point you need to understand? Here, a condition is going to check, and then only if the condition is true, we are going to repeat some set of statements, and then this updation, which is given in the fifth step, this updation is very much important. If you are not given any updation, then this while loop, once it is true, it will come inside the while loop, and it will keep on repeating the same while loop again and again, since you are not modifying the condition. How to modify the condition? By means of we are going to give the updation. Follow the lecture, we are having a small example for the while loop. So here we are having a variable I is equal to 1. I is declared and then I is initialized to 1. And what is our test expression? While I is less than 6, we are going to repeat something. What we are going to repeat? We are going to print hello. And then this I plus plus is the updation operation done. Without this updation operation, what happened? This while loop will become infinite, since at the time of initialization I is 1 and the testing I is less than 6, we are going to print hello, and then without this update expression, what happened? Always I is less than 6, so that I will keep on repeat this looping, so that don't forget to give this update expression inside the while. Okay, now I plus plus, so that what happened? I will increment it. Likewise, I will keep on incremented whenever you are going to enter into the while loop. And it will incremented after 6 means, after 5 means it will become 6. So that I is less than 6 only, you have to come inside the while loop. Otherwise, it will go outside the while loop. So what happened? In the output, you can see 5 times hello world is printed. Now we are going to discuss the do while loop in the iteration statement. There is some difference between while loop and do while loop that we are going to discuss here. The do while loop will execute the set of statement once, and follow with that there is a while statement is there with some condition. The condition is now checked at the end of the block, and if the condition is true Again it go upwards and then the do statement will execute. Otherwise it come out of the do while loop. The pictorial representation of do while loop is given here with execution steps from 1 to 6. The first step, do statement, is read and it's going to execute the set of block which is given in the second step. And then in the third step, surely we need a updation statement. And then in fourth step, we need to check the while condition. And if the condition is true, we need to go for the upward direction and then go to execute the second step again. And again we have to repeat the same step until the condition is going to be false. If the condition is false, then we need to execute the coding which are followed to the do while loop. That is, we come out of the do while loop. So according to this status, do while loop will execute at least once. An example program for do while loop is given below. Here we declare an integer variable that I, that value is 2, and we enter into a do while loop. So as per our explanation, this execution will be done at least once. So that now we directly enter into the do while statement and we print hello world, and an update expression is given here which is I plus plus is given, so that now I will become 3, and in the end of the do while loop statement we are having a condition I is less than 1. Is it I less than 1? No, I is 3, so that I is greater than 1. Now we come out of the do while loop here. We can see the output. The output is simply hello world, which is displayed since we enter into the do while loop. As per our explanation, it will execute at least only once. For that explanation, this program will helps to understand. Next topic we are going to discuss is jump statements. So what is by jump statements? These statements will help to alter the sequence of program flow, which makes the coding to jump from one place to another place. For example, we are using return, go to, break, continue. These are all comes under jump statements. The return and go to can be used anywhere inside a function. Break and continue, those statements can be used in conjunction with any of the loop statements only. And break can be used along with the switch also. So these are the 3 points we need to remember. Now in the jump statements, we are going to discuss return statements. The return statement is used to return from a function. Return statement is always used in the function only. It categorized as a jump statement because it caused the execution to return back to the point from the calling of the function is done. The return statement may have a value or does not have any value associated with it. The syntax is given here, return expression. This expression is declared inside the function and then that value is going to be returned back. It is optional only. As already we have said, the return statement may be or may not be have return value associated with it. Here we have an example return statement with no return value, that means no value. We have an example here with a function also in the program. We have given the prototype of the function void sqr. Inside the bracket we are having a argument is integer x. So what is the meaning of void sqr? Here the function name is sqr. Void means this function is not going to execute anything, not going to return anything. Now in the function main, we are declaring an integer variable t is equal to 10 and we are going to print the value, that's all. And then we are calling the function name sqr, that means square. In short form we have given is sqr, and the actual parameter is t here. this t value is 10. It is going to be now transferred to the execution to a function here outside the main, void sqr int x. So what is this int x? It is a formal parameter. T is the actual parameter, x is the formal parameter. The copy of the t value is going to be stored in the x. Now x is equal to x into x, that is x will become squared here, and then we are going to print the x value here itself inside the function itself, and then we just called return. What is the meaning of this return? Return back to the next line of the function call. That is the meaning of this return. Here you can note down, return does not have any value, return value. As per our program given here, return statement with no value. You can see the output. This first 10 is appearing here by means of the print t, which is given in the main, and then the 100 is printed here by means of print the x into x. That x value is printed here, that's why 10 100 is printed. Next program we are going to discuss is the return statement with return value. Here the same program is slightly altered here. We are having the same prototype here. The integer value t is equal to 100, and then I am going to print t also, and then I am going to call the square of t, and then the outside the main you can see here we are having int square int of x. What is int square here? This square function is going to return a variable. That variable is a integer data type. That is the meaning of int square. So that we can clearly understand from the prototype itself, this square function is going to return some value. That value is a integer value. So the actual parameter t is passed, and then it is going to copy it in the formal parameter x. Now x equal to x into x, and then we are going to return x. Here we have to note down, there is a difference with the previous program and this program. Here a return statement is having some value, return x. So now this return x is going to be return the value to the calling function sqrt, so that automatically you can check the output. The output will be 10 100. We have some definition about the return statement. We can use many return statement as you like within the function. However, the function will stop executing as soon it encounters the first return. Sometimes return is not going to specify. The curly braces act like a return value. Next, in the jump statement, we are going to discuss about the break. The break statement, which is used to terminate a case in the switch statement, and it can also use to force immediate termination of a loop, bypassing the normal test loop condition. When the break statement is encountered inside the loop is immediately terminated and program control resumes the next statement following the loop. Here you can see an example code for the break statement. We are having a variable t, integer variable, and we are having a for loop. In this for loop, the initialization is t is equal to 0, and the checking condition is t is less than 100. The increment is t equal to t plus 1, that is t plus plus. And then we are going to display the t value here, and then we are having a checking condition inside the for loop. If t is equal to 10, it is going to call the break statement. So now, as for the iteration of for loop, and then the checking condition given inside the if statement, this print statement will execute for the value t is equal to 0, t is equal to 1, t is equal to 2, up to t is equal to 9 and also t is equal to 10. Now t is now 10 and then it is going to check if t is equal to 10, it will break. That's why it will going to print from 0 to 10 on the screen. Then the loop get terminates, because if t is equal to 10, we are giving a break statement here. So we can see the output here from 0 to 10 it will display, and then if t equal to 10 we are having a break statement. So what happened? It will go out of the for loop. We are having another program for break statement. Here a break causes an exit from only the innermost loop. For explaining that condition we are having this example. Here we are having two integer variables called I and count. Using the I variable we are constituting a for loop. I is equal to 1 up to I less than equal to 5, I plus plus. That means this loop is going to execute for 5 times starting from I is equal to 1. Now inside the for loop we are having count is equal to 1, and then there is another for loop with only two semicolon inside that. This is for an unconditional for loop, an indefined for loop. No checking condition, no increment operator, anything is given here, so that it is the meaning for a undetermined for loop. So inside that we are going to print the count value, and then we are going to increment the count value, and then in a if statement we are going to check count is equal to 10. If it is equal to 10, then we are going to break, and then in the outside of the innermost for loop we are having a print an escape sequence /n to print the new line, and then we are having some closing parenthesis to close the outermost for loop and then main. So here the outer for loop is there, inner for loop is there, and then inside the inner for loop we are having if statement. If the if statement is true, we are having a break. So as per our definition here, the break cause exit only from the innermost loop, so that if count is equal to 0, then what will happen? The innermost loop will be break. So what happened according to this code? Each time count equals to 10, the compiler encounters break. It breaks the inner loop only. So check the output here. The outermost loop is going to execute for 5 times, but it is going to execute the innermost loop, and if count is equal to 10, then it is going to come out, so that every time we are having 1 to 9 only, not the 10 value is printed here. Next we are going to discuss continue statement in the jump statements. The continue statement. The continue statement works somewhat like the break statement, but there is a huge difference between those two is the break statement will break the further execution of the innermost loop or further execution of the loop where it encounters, but the continue will not forcefully terminate the loop, but it forces the next iteration takes place by skipping the code given below, so that the loop is not going to terminate, but it skips the code given in between. So the for loop along with the continue causes the own increment, and then the conditional test portion will going to execute again. In while and do while along with the continue statement, the program control passes to the condition test. Here an example program for the continue statement is given. Here we are having two integer variables, one is t, another is count. Using the t variable we are going to construct a for loop. The for loop is going to be start with t is equal to 1, and the checking condition is t is less than or equal to 20, and the increment operator is t plus plus. That means t is going to increment for one at a time. So that this loop is going to execute for 1 to 20. The t value starts with 1. Now inside the for loop, we are having a if statement where that if statement is going to check the t modulo 2 is equal to 10. Sorry, equal to 0. What is the meaning of that one? The if statement is going to check the t is even or not. The value of t is even or not. If the value of t is even, then we encounter a statement called continue. What is the meaning of this continue? It will bypass the remaining code of this for loop and it is going to go for next iteration. But remember, what is the meaning for the break? If it is here, it will stop the execution. So that the major difference between break and continue is break will forcefully stop the execution of the for loop. Continue will forcefully bypass this execution of the remaining statements and go for the next iteration. Now you can see there is a else part. In the else part we are going to display the t value. Now first of all t is equal to 1 and inside the if statement we are having checking condition t is even or not by means of t modulo 2 is equal to 0. Now t is equal to 1, so that we go for the else, we need to go for the else. Here we are displaying the value. And then now again it is going to repeat t is equal to 2 now. Now in the if statement t modulo 2 is equal to 0, so that we go for the true part, which is continue. So that what will happen, it will bypass all the remaining code, so that the print statement will not work, and then we go for the next iteration of the for loop. That means what will happen, only the odd values will be printed on the screen from 1 to 20. That is happening here. And there is another good program given here to discuss the difference between break and continue. The same set of code is given here to understand the concept. The only difference is here inside the if statement we are having break. Here inside the if statement we are having the continue. The rest of the things are common here. But see the output. What will be the output in the break statement? As we know, the break statement will break the code, break the for loop here, so that only one is printed in the screen. But here in the continue, it will bypass the code and then it will go for the next iteration. So that what happened here, it will print all the odd numbers between 1 to 100 on the screen. So using the same set of code, only the difference is break is there, here continue is there. The output has a huge difference. So far we have discussed the iteration statements and break and continue, return statements, jump statements. The reference for preparing this video is given here. Thank you for watching the video. The contact details of myself is given here. For further clarification, you can contact me in the following mail ID at any time. Thank you for watching the video.